All right, welcome back. All right, now let's take a look at some of the stories that we have on the front pages of our local dailies. I have the Star newspaper, and on the front page of the Star, Kenyatta Bastion trails Ruto's in voter listing. Kenyatta Bastion trails Ruto's in voter listing. In Kiambu, only 2,334 people were registered in first week. That is on the front page of the Star. Equally missing in the top 10 counties are ODM strongholds. Something that IBC have also raised a matter with, that the voter registration is rather slow, and most of the politicians are now taking it upon themselves to do the civic education in their respective constituencies to sensitize people to go and register as voters. That is going to form part of our discussion later on in the hour. In the next hour, we are going to talk about the mystery that is shrouded around the voter registration and that magic touch when you talk about the youth and the voters. Now you are a voter, you are a youth, and now politicians are after you. We are going to dissect that later on in the hour just to understand how it works. All right, where's Trevor alias Jamal? Cops say that he fled to Somalia and mother doubts. That is a story again that's worth reading. 21 governors in last term plot their post-22 political survival plan. That story fleshed out there for you, but in details you can take a look at that story so far. Now there's a story here that fake magistrate also impersonated CS Keter's younger brother, according to police. He has been on the run since 2018 after obtaining 1.6 million shillings from a man. A 32-year-old man was arrested at the weekend after impersonating a magistrate at Nakuru Law Courts for 3 years. Victor Kiprono Ngeno had also posed as devolution CS Charles Keter's younger brother to obtain money from unsuspecting people on the pretext he would help them and their relatives to secure jobs in the government. He was also known as Victor Keter. Ngeno has been on the run since 2018 when he obtained over 1.6 million shillings from a Nakuru man while personating a magistrate. According to police investigations, Ngeno, who was also privy to an ongoing civil case involving the victim at the law court, sought a meet-up with him with promises he could expedite the determination of the case in his favor. Now, when they shook hands in agreement after the fake assurance, the victim unknowingly signed in as a cash cow for unforgiving imposter. 3 years impersonating a magistrate, and it goes undetected. Somebody said this is Kenya and Kenya is our business. Remember, this reminds me of the fake doctor, the fake police inspector, remember? We have the police inspector who used even to ride in a police helicopter and nobody noticed who he was.
Ogopa Kenya.
Eish.
No, but we're very serious. Let's be very serious. Let's be very, very serious. When I read this case about that guy, impersonating a magistrate for a cool 3 years.
That's a full contract.
365 times 3 days. 8 to 5. Let's give it how many hours a day, and 8 to 5, maybe 8 hours. Yeah. I mean, a magistrate. I mean,
serious.
You walk. I want to understand. Was he even giving convictions?
You have your office, you have your driver, you have all the court files.
Official outlook of everything.
This is the price we pay for being stupid.
I'm just wondering.
And not doing due diligence.
I'm just wondering, by the time...
Nakupenda vitu za mkato, Doreen.
Yeah.
By the time you are actually sitting down, because this needs strategy. By the time you're doing this thing for 3 years, and no one can stop you. I'm just wondering how long it took him to just strategize, plan, and then finally execute
for 3 good years.
3 years. And no one noticed.
I actually believe so that he can be caught Because he needed people to make sure that his ruse was working.
Strategy.
He needed people to make his lie more believable. So maybe along the value chain, in his circles, people who were enabling him, aliwaosha. How much money did he run away with? Escape with?
1.6 million.
I think
at some point.
Hapo, akamua, you know what? To hell. Those are the people who made sure he'd been nabbed. Because you cannot operate in a vacuum with such an elaborate ruse for 3 years undetected if you did not have people helping you see this to fruition.
And not just any people, Ray, people who are in the real offices, the real deal, that can give you legit documents.
Legit.
And also this goes back to, you see this narrative here that most of us, the common people, see our leaders with such reverence. You don't even question their credibility or their credentials. And I think this is one of those situations. Say mimi ni brother so and so, ama niko kwa hii ofisi so and so. Not many people would be ready to question that, because also many people do not really know our leaders. A huge majority of the population, by the way, don't know their NCAs, don't know their even governors for that matter, don't know the different ministers. So mtu akuja kuambia mimi niko kwa hii ofisi na hii ofisi, what are the chances that you would refuse to believe that?
Hey, Google is your friend.
I think this guy just ran away with it, because even you can't go out there and start questioning a judge at, hey, show me your academic credentials,
your license
of practice,
or your level of experience. Show me what you've done.
Because the moment
you can't do that. Let's just be honest.
No, you can't, because the moment you're in the dock, you freak out. You're like, hey, maisha yangu sasa yiko,
and that's the problem.
You can't. And in fact, the investigation says that this guy had employment papers from the Judicial Service Commission.
Man, you see, there's a genuine person along the line
that goes by that name, probably.
Yes, that helps Search thrive.
Because
and this reminds me of the incident that we saw over the weekend involving Boniface Mwangi, where he was insisting on seeing the identification documents of the GSU officers as well as the guys that were claiming to be KRA. And by virtue of insisting to do that, it seemed that, you know, and from past incidences with him, he has been considered as a rogue person, someone who always goes against the grain. But then again, on one hand, we are told to always ask for credentials from our officers or enforcers, and on the other hand, it becomes a problem when it is also done.
I mean, this guy just, my assumption is probably he was coached. When you go to the dock, sit there, don't talk, ask questions.
Speak when you're spoken to.
Exactly. Just ask a very simple question. These are the words. You know, the legal jargons.
Short
yes, Your Honor.
Only.
Just do the writing and say, mention, you know, hearing and what have you, case kando. Perhaps this guy was coached. He disappeared, came back to Nakuru, continued with his work. Right now. Yes.
Do you know the magnitude of even the picture that you're painting right now is that someone actually walked into the magistrate chambers, right?
Yes, because he's been operating for 3 years.
There's an IO, the investigating officer. There's a prosecutor. There are lawyers involved. I don't think it got to this point. I don't think it got to this point. I think this imposter approached this person because he had insider information about the case he's having. Akampata njia kando. Because I'm imagining by the time, you know, you sit at the magistrate chambers, you even sit there at the front, you know, you're listening to people and the IOs are there, the prosecutor is there. I mean, there's even the clerk, the court clerk. You know, I don't think we'd get to that point. I think he got crucial information and papers about this particular ongoing case.
Saw an opportunity.
Then saw an opportunity to defraud this person, approached him as a magistrate. But he had never appeared in front of this guy as a magistrate.
But
that's what I'm thinking, because I'm imagining
for 3 years. 3 years. That's now. Because I think there's more to this than we know.
Yeah, that's a con man.
But then impersonation is also something that, oof.
And I'm just thinking,
where is the place of integrity? I mean, for this person to do this for all these 3 years, and I began by saying the strategy and the planning that this person had to take.
The confidence.
And those inside the system, wale legit no sasa wanamsaidia. Where is the place of integrity?
Scratch my back.
Aye. Scratch yours.
Surely.
Some things though.
Nikubaya.
These streets are savage.
Have you ever had an incident where you have gone to register a birth certificate? It's very simple.
Ask me about it, Regina. Ask me about it.
You see?
Just last week, by the way, I was thoroughly frustrated at one of the Huduma centers. I'm going to pick my son's birth certificate. Ninaambiwa timechukuliwa na mtu mwingine.
Okay.
Trying to inquire, ninaambiwa nene nikatafute mwenye amechukua.
How now?
As though I'm the one who issued it to them.
Wow. Okay.
This went on for almost 3 hours, and mind you, at least these days when it comes to civil registration, you do it online, then you get a message, come for your document after 4 weeks. It has been over 2 months, no message yet, and yet when you look on your portal, you can see that you've already paid what you needed to pay, and the document is ready.
So perhaps this is what's happening across the country.
And you can imagine this is just one case. Imagine the many others.
The reason why I brought up that issue, Jane, it's because I was just giving a case in point, a case scenario, because it also happened to me some years back, over 10 years back. That same thing. You are legally following the due process to get something processed from a government office, right? However, the systems, the persons working here, they have no customer relations. They really do not have even an attitude, you know, a person attitude. They're all giving you all manner of responses. Like, for example, Jay, in that situation where someone has the audacity and the confidence to tell you that, you know what, your son's birth certificate was picked by someone else, so go find this person. I mean, do you think that person is actually sane? Did they hear what they actually said? So they're the ones who gave out the birth certificate. But you who is supposed to receive it, the rightful owner, should go get the person who took it.
Who was issued by them.
By them. It reminds me of a case where actually this matter was being pursued in court. And the IO then came and approached me and told me, you need to ensure that your witnesses are in court. I asked him, I go get the witnesses. I'm supposed to bring the witnesses? Take it back. What did you mean? Sema ulazima uhakikishe wale watu wako kotini. Nikamwangalia, then kambia, maybe I've been watching a lot of TV and NCIS Miami, Yara CSI, you know, where you expect that the IO, the person who is doing the investigation, actually ensures that the witnesses appear in court. But we have a system, we have a breakdown in our systems, especially where public government services are concerned, that there are people who are supposed to carry out their jobs meticulously, but they fail to do so. And they create an avenue for unscrupulous people to take advantage of innocent Kenyans.
But Regina,
because you do not want to go through that process.
It calls for just that, the sense of humanity. And the people usually say, ushaambiwa ukitaka kusaidiwa enda kwa so and so, atakusaidia. Always try and make a positive mark wherever you go. Whether it's that, always try, however bad you might be, but always try and make a positive mark. No wonder unasikia mtu anakuambia, ukitaka kusaidiwa, don't go to Victor, don't go to Jain, go to Doreen. Doreen atakusaidia haraka sana, because it's out of the humanity that she decided to do her job diligently. Why you wake up in the morning to go and serve? Then why do you frustrate someone? And that is your job.
But you know, the sad part of this all is that I am so sure there is no grown-up adult in Kenya who does not have a story of being mistreated or receiving very poor service at a government office.
And you see, that's why You see, that's why for some people, before even they get that service, they will ask you, can I see if you actually, this is what you do? You know, just case in point by what also Boniface Mwangi was doing there. Can I see what you do? Can I see your credentials? Are you even the right person to be doing this? There's that level of professionalism that also needs to come with it. Because, I mean, it's...
Anyway.
Happy Utamaduni Day.
Happy Utamaduni Day. Let's continue the newspapers. But before you continue,
I have a question. Manners.
But let us also take this time to appreciate those that actually deliver good service, because in as much as I had a bad experience, I also got someone who came in and assisted me, and in 30 minutes
you're done.
I got the birth certificate.
I have a question. You are supposed, anytime you walk in somewhere, in any building you want to access anywhere, you'll be asked about where is your ID. First of all, it's a requirement. Where is your ID? What's the problem, in this case of Boniface Mwangi, when he inquired to get to know the identity of the police officer? Is it a mistake?
You saw from the press release that was put out, they actually quoted saying that the enforcement officer was in his uniform, and by virtue of that, it was enough to identify him.
That's how.
And for Boniface to insist on seeing the actual identification card wasn't really necessary.
Perhaps he didn't have his service number.
But actually, listen, if you're actually the right person for that job and you have that ID card, why can't you just show it? What's so big about it?
Because I even go back because I watched that clip.
Even as we have
addressing the people who had come with the papers claiming were KRA.
Yes.
Because that is what he was okay with, the guy in uniform.
Yes.
Maybe, we know uniform is rented out. We all know this is Kenya. Tuongee ukweli, tuambiane ukweli.
On the streets, you see people with the uniform.
I mean, do your due diligence. Don't assume.
So for me, a uniform is not a standard measure of identity. If it was, we would not be carrying our national IDs. And I like the question he was asking. He was directing to this gentleman who had come to arrest the barber where he works, where he was getting a cut, and he was asking if you are KRA, if you're having these papers, if you have come to arrest, identify yourselves. And towards the very end of that particular clip, a lady comes in, flashes their card, identifies themselves as Nairobi County officers. So the story changes. It is not KRA anymore. It is Nairobi County government officer. So I'm wondering,
do due diligence.
By virtue of saying he was in the uniform, JC uniform, is like saying if I hold a microphone that has a KBC logo, I'm an employee of KBC without needing to verify.
Maybe umepewa tu nisaidie kubeba.
They could have been fraudsters or kidnappers for that matter.
Have you ever gone to an hospital where all nurses are always in their dust coat, their uniform, but you must have a tag? Jinaki ko hapo.
And they constantly wear it to show.
And especially if you are in public office.
Yes.
Bro.
Must have your tag.
Exactly. It was a weekend. How many of you have lost money to a waiter or a waitress at a joint?
Not me. Not me.
Kukio kumeja, we tunajua when it is actually very crowded, people will come pose as waiters and waitresses. They will take orders from the revelers who've come there, and they disappear. When you're asked who served you, you're like, alikuwa amevaa ile t-shirt ya brown. You need to know. Anyone can actually borrow some t-shirt or shirt.
Impersonation is real.
But they need to have a tag. Kwa mjanja.
Regina, what do you have on the newspaper? Kwa mjanja na newspaper.
Ukitufungia kama neno.
All right.
Let me just run you through the front page here real quick. This is looking at just the main story here is in regards to 23 women in a heated race to become governors, and this is by far the highest number that has been seen when it comes to the women that are throwing their hats in the ring. So most of these are deputy county bosses, women reps, MPs, and professionals that are declaring that they're going to be in the gubernatorial race for the come the 2022 general elections. And as it currently stands, since we got this devolved system of government, we've only had 3 women who have been in gubernatorial positions. So looking at the potential that is sort of being predicted. This time round, we could be having more women holding these governor offices across the country as opposed to what we have seen in history, in as much as there hasn't been any woman who has, you know, declared any aspirations to become the president. We are yet to see that, but when it comes to the office of the governors, there are 23 women that have shown interest in regards to this. Ray?
Front page, you're talking about back to school. Man, as a parent, I feel the pinch. And when I hear the government saying fees reprieve for parents as school reopen. Now, the ministry acknowledges that many lost livelihoods because of the COVID-19 pandemic and are struggling to pay for tuition, pushes school heads to find different solutions instead of sending learners home over arrears. My question is this going to be the actual situation this whole week? Is it? Because we've had a situation where, and I'm speaking with a lot of authority without fear of favor, a school last term, kids who had arrears while the rest were sitting for their exams were kept in class but were not allowed to take their exams. Oof. Like they sit in class with the rest of the pupils, but they do not take the exam.
Because of arrears.
Until the parents pay the fee balance. So, what damage have you done to this child? What damage have you done to them? Because they have been studying the whole term. They also want to sit for their exams. But for one reason or the other, the parents have a balance. And because of this balance, or rather fee arrears, you decide as an administration that they're going to continue with their learning, but they're not going to take their exams. I think we're punishing children for the sins of their fathers and mothers. That's what I think. So I hope we're not going to see a replica of this, you know, this kind of inhuman kind of treatment of learners as we head to back to school. Yesterday on social media, a certain private school was actually trending. Why? They were locked out of a school, a private school, because they arrived at the school late. And this is per the administration. So the parents went on social media to protest and said that they were paying too much to have the administration treat them the way they did. And they actually termed that move as insensitive. So now we're going to be dealing with administrative institutions as we do back to school. And the question is, where will you find yourself as a parent? Where will your daughter or your son find themselves? Are these people who are running these institutions alive to the fact that there are challenges out here? And we are not negating the fact that also institutions are finding it hard because they have human resource to pay and such, and it's an operation to run. But then how do we strike a balance? We'll be doing a spot check as KBC Channel 1. Be sure to give us your feedback. Twitter still remains on and open to you. In your feedback, you can reach us at KBC Channel 1 News, at Doreen Arange, at Jain Wambui, at Victor Law, and at Regina Manyara. Back to school, government says to be a bit, administrations and institutions to negotiate with parents as far as fees are concerned. That's what we have on the front page of the Standard this morning.
Doreen?
All right, just before we get to close in the headlines, a quick look on how the PD is looking like. And we obviously have that particular story on Mount Kenya failing to enlist its voters. The article just well highlights some of those counties there in the mountain, key among them being Kirinyaga, as well as some of the counties which recorded a good number in terms of that voter registration. Those are being described as the sparsely populated counties. Again, the back to school, as we know, this week is that week of, just going to school. And again, there's that conversation around school fees where parents are crying of paying fees in a single year, just paying that fees 4 times instead of the usual 3 times there. And again, the question of school heads saying that they were underfunded and that they needed more money. This was to be able to run things smoothly. However, at least they are anticipating and being optimistic that towards the end of this week, all that funding would have come on board, at least for quick and smooth running of schools. They are also on matters politics a bit there, that things politicians do to attract voters, to attract votes ahead of elections. You've obviously seen some politicians just bracing themselves in the rain. The articles also highlight some of those politicians there. So again, you can also just read about that and trying to make informed decisions and choices as we head over to 2022 general elections there. And that's where we bring the headlines to a close this Tuesday. Plenty more after this break.